Welcome to Learning Out Loud, a space for honest conversation as life is happening. I'm Kate, and this podcast is about the moments that shape us. The stress, the growth, the uncertainty, and the lessons we only learn by living them. Now, I'm not here as an expert with all the answers. I'm here learning in real time, sharing what I'm discovering whilst holding space for those figuring it out too. So, wherever you're listening, walking, driving, or just taking a moment for yourself, I'm really glad you're here. Let's learn out loud together. I feel like this week has flown by. I have been inundated with plans, lots of work, lots of appointments. Things have really definitely started to pick up here, which is amazing. So I'm hoping this momentum stays. But yeah, I feel like I've spoken to so many different people. I've actually found myself in so many intentional conversations as well, which have really aligned with the things I've wanted to learn and the kind of rooms I've wanted to be in. And it's just been, a really awakening week, which has been amazing. So definitely stepping into this episode today, I'm very grateful for the conversations that I've had. But other than that, it really has just been a get yourself together kind of week, just getting everything organized, doing some housekeeping on my systems and processes and routines. And throughout this, I realized something. It's not actually life itself that is heavy. Sometimes it's actually the amount of unfinished things we're carrying, whether that be replying to messages, booking or attending that dentist appointment, delaying decisions, conversations we keep meaning to have, or the goals that you keep putting off until you have more time. And individually, none of these things may seem that huge, but when they're all sat in the background together at the same time, it can create a lot of mental noise. It's almost like your brain never fully has that chance to switch off, because in the back of your mind, there's always something unfinished requiring your attention. What's strange is even like myself this last week, going through this reset and reorganizing, your brain doesn't always reset with you, because there's a part of you somewhere still holding on to all of the things that you need to do. And I don't think we realize how exhausting that can be. It's not necessarily a burnout from doing too much, more a mental fatigue from postponing things that just keep building up in your brain. Because every unfinished thing becomes another thing your brain has to remember, avoid, or revisit. And the longer it sits there, the larger it feels emotionally. I genuinely had to ask myself this question the other day of, am I overwhelmed or am I just dealing with far too many unfinished things? Because I am the queen of starting things and not finishing them, or getting so fixated on the idea of how I'm going to get there that by the time I actually get to starting, I'm already burnt out by the thought and I think I haven't got enough time, I haven't got enough inspiration, it just seems like all too much work. Like, I am genuinely talking to myself here in this episode. So one thing that I've actually started doing a lot more now is not allowing those things to emotionally build up in me. If I'm thinking about replying, I'll do it straight away. If something needs organizing, I'll allocate a short period of time to just get it done. If there's a decision I already know the answer to, I stop dragging it out and just rip the band-aid off. And I also focus on the small 5-minute tasks in each day to give me that little dopamine kick of ticking things off, which I'll discuss a little bit later on in today's episode. Now, very obviously, I'm not perfect at this. I've admitted myself this is probably one of my worst traits. So yes, I still do procrastinate sometimes, but nowhere near as much as I used to. And I don't mean to say all of this to encourage you to be reckless and impulsive, but I just want to encourage you to trust yourself enough to deal with things instead of emotionally carrying the weight of all of it. Because realistically, there are going to be days where you are so busy that you just physically cannot, even if you tried, get these things done. Or if you were to get them done, it would just be a debt of your energy. So what you need to do is find time somewhere where you can allocate it or fit it into your schedule later on in the week so that you don't forget it. Now, for me, I live by my calendar. If it's not written down, it is simply not being done. And everybody knows me for my alarm pinging off for the randomest things to remind me, oh my goodness, I need to call that person. I need to text that person. Unfortunately, my brain is like the messiest filing cabinet. And without regimented alerts and alarms and reminders, it's just not going to get done. So I had to find a system that worked for me instead of relying on the mental chaos. Now, this can look different for everybody, but for me, it came in the form of a very extensive Excel sheet, which sounds incredibly boring, but for me, it worked. I can now very clearly see what my weekly goals are, what my day-to-days look like, the things I'm grateful for, the people I need to get back to. I even went a step further and actually created my own personal CRM on Excel so I can keep up with my workflow all within the same document. So that way I can keep on track of everything without spreading it across multiple different systems. Now, it seems a lot of work to begin with, but that is how my brain works. I like to see clearly everything that's coming up, everything that's been done, everything that needs to be done but doesn't need to be done right now, so that I can go through my old to-do list, add them to the next day so I'm not missing a mark. This also helps me see clearly where my diary is at. So I've got a visual representation. So when I am speaking and planning things, I already know in my head, well, on Monday at 4 o'clock, I'm blocked out for this, etc., etc., etc. I was actually speaking to a close friend of mine yesterday about how satisfying it is to tick small little things off my to-do list, especially early in the morning and at the end of the day. Because during the middle of the day, I've said this a million times before, my day is unpredictable. I can have a list of things I want to do and get absolutely none of them done, or I'll have a list of things that I need to get done that I'll do and the rest. But ticking certain things off my to-do list makes me feel like I've won the day. So in the morning, simple things like walk the dog, feed the dog, make sure he wheezes, get ready, do my skincare, do my gym class, makes me feel like I've won the day before I've even started work. So being able to visually see that as I'm stepping in and about to fill out all of my to-do list for the day, I already feel the sense of achievement because I'm like, well, I've already smashed the morning and I know I'm going to smash the evening. So now all I've got to do is just have that extra bonus of hitting things at work. Now, I'll do another video separate to this another time because I do think it's a whole conversation to have. But for me, as I've mentioned, this Excel sheet has been a game changer because instead of my brain trying to hold on to 50 million different things at once, I had somewhere to intentionally place them and keep track of them. Now, the funny thing is for me, it's not the tasks themselves that are actually difficult. It's the anticipation that drains you. It's the build up and that constant awareness that something needs doing. Now, avoidance creates weight. And I think it also creates a strange kind of guilt. When I don't complete things off my to-do list, I genuinely feel this heaviness of, oh my goodness, I'm not capable of doing this. I can't handle it. How am I going to stay afloat in this and that if I cannot just do the simple task of doing the washing up, for say? And this is because every time you continuously ignore something, whether it be a small task, a big task, multiple, or just the one, you create this little disconnect between yourself and your capabilities. I've been trying really hard recently to become a woman of my word, privately as well. Because it's one thing being reliable for people or in front of other people, but you have to ask yourself whether or not you're actually reliable for yourself within your own four walls when nobody's watching. Because it's so easy to make promises to yourself but quietly break them when no one's looking. As simple as these are to break, over time, it actually affects how much you trust yourself. And honestly, I think there's a much deeper layer to all of this. Self-trust isn't built through motivation on its own. It's built through follow-through. Through showing yourself repeatedly that you can show up and complete the things that you want to do. Ask yourself this. If you had a friend of yours that always seems to put things off, is never on time, never gets stuff done, and can never stick to their word, are you really going to spend a lot of time in them? No. Are you ever going to trust them? No. So how on earth can you expect to have trust within yourself to complete things when all of the evidence from the past shows that you can't? Now, I think this is why finishing things feels so satisfying, not just because the task itself disappears, but because your mind relaxes afterwards. For me, there's just a sense of peace that comes from no longer abandoning your own responsibilities, and overall just getting stuff done. For a long time, and I'm sure we all have this misconception, I thought peace came from slowing down or stopping. But actually, I think the most peaceful times in my life came when I finally started dealing with things rather than just postponing, closing my daily loops, clearing the mental clutter, getting those small little tasks I've been putting off for ages just done, and just handling things instead of carrying them, as I've said. And something else that helps me massively is accountability. I will fully admit, I am not the most reliable person by myself. I am very, very good at pushing other people to do things, but when it comes to my own self-discipline, it can be a struggle. Now, instead of beating myself up about this and going into a procrastination state, I get myself an accountability partner. I have multiple different ones depending on the task that needs to be done. I have one person in particular who is my daily accountability. Each morning we send a voice note or a message of what we need to do that day. With this, we either decide to body double and get it done together, or at least just putting it in the chat to say, this is what I need to do today. Let me check in the evening and see if I've actually done it. Now, thankfully, a lot of the things that I'm doing at the moment align with this friend of mine. So it's so much easier for us to keep on top of things because I feel that if I'm letting myself down, I'm also letting her down too. And without the two of us doing it together, some of these things physically cannot be done because it's teamwork. When everything only exists in your own mind, it becomes very easy to delay things, justify things, or convince yourself that you'll do them later. But the second you say it out loud to somebody or do it alongside somebody, you trust it and it becomes real. Now, these people aren't here to control you, or to tap you in the wrist when you're not doing things right. They're simply here to just keep you in alignment and keep you motivated. I even see this in the gym classes I do in the morning. When I am sat next to somebody who motivates me, who pushes me, I typically tend to work that bit harder. Whereas if somebody kind of lets me slip off in the background and slack a little bit, I typically will. So if you're anything like me, get yourself an accountability partner and you will thank me later. Specifically people that you look up to as well, because if they also struggle with the same things as you, it could go one of two ways. You could either both lift each other up, or you could actually create really, really bad habits between the two of you. So be careful who you pick. I've noticed when I surround myself with intentional people, I become more intentional myself. Vice versa, being quite an intentional person anyway, I find that when people spend their time with me, they also become more intentional too. Especially in more recent times, I definitely procrastinate less, I follow through more, and I stay clearer mentally, which honestly just proves once again how important your environment is. Because the right people don't drain your momentum, they sharpen it. And I think there's something really healthy about being able to rely on yourself, but also knowing when to rely on people and tap into their support when needed. And honestly, this conversation goes way beyond productivity, because becoming isn't about starting new things all the time. It's also learning how to close things off properly. Now, perfectionism falls under this category as well. I always used to find myself in analysis paralysis, but what I've taught myself is 80% done is better than 100% unfinished. Now, it's not an excuse to slack or lessen your quality of the work that you are putting out there. However, if it comes to a point of finishing something and not finishing something, you will be far better off finishing something and having it not be 100% than not finishing it and the small amount that you have done being the best percent you've ever done. And it takes a little while to get used to that. But it links back to the very first episode about control and trust, and just knowing that something being done is good enough sometimes, and just take it in your stride next time and do better. Maybe the peace we're looking for doesn't always come from escaping things. Habits, conversations, chapters you've emotionally stayed attached to for way too long. It comes from finally dealing with the overflow of unfinished things around us. So if there's one thing I'm taking from all of this, it's that life feels an awful lot lighter when you stop leaving things half open. This also opens up a lot of space in your mind for new creativity, inspiration, and genuinely just capacity to deal with the incoming. Not because you suddenly become hyper-productive and perfect, but because you stop carrying things that you are 110% capable of handling. And I think there's something really powerful about being somebody that can actually trust themselves to deal with life as it comes. Now, as always, thank you for listening to Learning Out Loud. I hope that this can give you some sort of peace, clarity, and direction into untangling the chaos that our brains can sometimes be. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and I'll speak to you next time.